So I'm in Romania for the first time in my life and I have no idea what to expect, but here's a recap of my first day. We landed pretty late last night and stayed the night in my sister's apartment just outside the center of Bucharest, which meant taking a car sick-inducing Uber into the city to check out our first stop, Obor Market. There's plenty of fresh produce, dried produce and baked goods, cured meats and cheeses everywhere, but the main thing that surprised me is just a number of different types of apple here. Quite a few people recommended I try Mitch and Somali and polenta, so we found a place that had all three.
It's 12 o'clock.
All this food here on the tray probably cost us like £6 in total, and I gotta say, Mitch is delicious, although I can see why some people were saying it had an interesting texture. It's like this meaty roll that's grilled, but somehow it has this super spongy texture to it, but still delicious. I'm a fan of Somalis too, basically like cabbage rolls with meat inside, and I think the cabbage is fermented, which makes it a little bit sour, but it kind of reminds me how I wrap meat in kimchi sometimes in Korean food too. Next to the Somali and the Mitch, the polenta was a little underwhelming, purely because the other two were so flavorful, but once we finished the Mitch and Somali and began focusing more on the polenta, we started becoming quite fond of it. And then before we left the market, we grabbed some strawberries and some biscuits to try later on. Before taking the tram to the old town, we checked out this Orthodox church and the absolutely gigantic government building. However, we didn't have all day in Bucharest because we had to catch a train to Brasov, so we headed over to the Botanical Gardens, which had this amazing view of this power plant. It was such a nice day, we decided to have a little stroll around here, checked out this greenhouse before sitting down to eat our strawberries and biscuits. These ones were like little crust shells with chocolate inside. Pretty good, but could have been better with a higher quality chocolate. And these were like heart-shaped lavender shortbreads. Actually quite delicious as they weren't too sweet, but the lavender taste still comes through really smoothly. These strawberries though were absolutely delicious. They reminded me how sweet strawberries are in Korea, but were actually quite flavorful at the same time. We walked to the station from the Botanical Gardens since it was only a short walk. Got on our train to Brasov, and it took like 2 or 3 hours, but it was a pretty enjoyable ride. In Brasov, we're staying in what feels like the center of this town. Pretty nice apartment, but we only took like 5 minutes to chill because we needed to eat dinner. And then for dinner, we want to try some more Romanian food. So we got some charcuterie, beef and sour cream soup, and something that was just called the Brasov specialty. The beef and sour cream soup was pretty freaking good, although the addition of this chili was kind of confusing and surprisingly spicy. The Brasov special ended up being like chunks of chicken, potato, and pork. Was actually quite salty. We ended up using the sour cream from the other dish to cut through the salt. Also, I gotta know how they make these cucumber pickles here because they're so good. They taste like they're fermented, but then the vinegar is added afterwards. So if anyone knows, I'd love to know how they're made. And then for dessert, we had been recommended to try papanash, so we got a Nutella and chocolate papanash. Absolutely smashed it. This was actually so good. And the whole meal only cost like £35 for 4 plates and 3 drinks. After dinner, we walked around Brasov, which is already making a better impression than Bucharest. Stopped by a Carrefour, and then another thing I've noticed is I keep seeing goji berries everywhere here too. After that, we strolled back to our apartment through what was still a bustling town, but tomorrow I'm gonna have to check it out during the day, so stay tuned for more Romania.